As we start the new year, it's a great time to reflect on what you want from your business and life. What problems are you no longer willing to put up with? What successes would you like to achieve? And how would you like your life to be different? Tune into this episode where we outline a 4-step process that will stop you losing interest in your goals by the time February hits. And it will see you achieving levels of success and change that you didn't believe possible in all areas of life.
People often find it really hard to think about what they want in the future,
You've got to be a creator rather than a reactor.
but I guarantee that all of you know what you don't want in the future, and that can be a really good starting point.
Other people are recruiting you to build their dreams.
We are what we repeatedly do, and therefore success is not an act, but a habit,
The business was taking the top priority. Every goal I set was about the business, and that definitely came at a detriment.
because who doesn't want to have diggers?
A bigger digger.
Alright, I need a bigger digger.
Specific. Having some issues.
I'm going to put it right here on this podcast.
Look out, buddy.
Do you think this is realistic? And if they say yes, then I'm like,
Alrighty, Tony Fraser-Jones here, the host of the Profitable Tradie podcast. Looking forward to hanging out today with you guys and my good mate Phil Smith.
g'day mate, how you going?
Phil Smith.
Phil Smith.
Phil Smith.
Yeah. Actually direct descendant of Mike Tyson. But looking forward to getting into it today.
Yeah, what are we into today, man? This is going to be good.
We're talking about how most trade and service businesses owners, they really struggle to set goals, or the goals that they set are more of a wish than a goal, or a feeling that you want life to be different and better in some way. And people often find it really hard to think about what they want in the future, but I guarantee that all of you know what you don't want in the future, and that can be a really good starting point. So, like most things, there's a right and a wrong way to set your goals, a way that works, a way that quite frankly doesn't. And it's not your fault, because goal setting isn't something that you get taught in trade school or during your apprenticeship. So today we're going to outline the 4-step process to effectively set goals that actually give results. So it should be pretty cool.
Yeah, this is important. It's a good time of year to talk about it. Sort of over vacation period, New Year's. Often we're thinking about what's ahead for the year, what ground our gears last year, what are we not going to put up with anymore. And so good time to reflect. And goal setting is a really interesting thing. It's more than just a thought. Writing a bit of stuff down. There's a whole lot to it, and I think the reason people don't get what they want is they don't really understand the process of goal setting, because it's not a one and done. It's not a set and forget. There's a whole process you need to go through to make this work effectively, and it does start with getting a clear idea on what you're after, because in the absence of clearly defined goals, we come strangely loyal to performing the daily trivia till we ultimately become enslaved by it. Now, Robert Hanlon said that. And I think it's a great quote. It basically means if we don't know what the hell we're doing and where we're going, life takes over, and we just do the same stuff over and over again until that's our life, and we can feel pretty frustrated by that.
Yeah, absolutely. You fall into your defaults, and I'm sure you got a really good story to kick us off here.
Well, the thing I love about goal setting, it's a bit like aircraft, flying, because aircraft.
Here we go. Tony loves a good aircraft story.
Well, I love air crash investigation. Actually,
It's kind of morbid. He sits there and watches it for hours.
we've just Bronwyn's just got Disney.
It's on Disney.
No, is it on Disney? I think it is.
Oh,
yeah,
damn.
but
All right.
National Geographic is on. You get that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. So
And I mean, it's not as though we needed another streaming service in the house, because it's hard enough to keep the kids away from the TV already. But we've got it, and so thanks for asking. Been watching some more
Yeah.
air crash investigation.
Oh, that's good, man. That's good.
Yeah, so-
Some of the people on that show, they're dead just now.
That's in very poor taste, my
It
man.
probably is in poor taste. All right, crack on with the aircraft story.
Anyway, an aircraft is flying from point A to point B, and they set the course. But the aircraft during that flight is seldom on course. In fact, it's never on course. It's always correcting to course, and so a few degrees off all the time, coming back to the course. And goal setting is a little bit like that. If you don't have a place you're heading, well, you're going to get off course totally. And so the goals allow you to just come back on course all the time. Without it, you kind of go around in circles, and your life goes around in circles, your business can go around in circles. So what we want to do with our goals is create a point that we're aiming for and a process to get there that keeps us on course. When all those things during the day, the week, the month, and the year that tend to knock you off course, life happens, stuff happens. I get that. We're all human. Nobody's perfect, and it's a struggle to stay on track. But if you don't have a goal, it's very hard to know what the track is. That's really what
absolutely.
it's about.
Yeah,
And
totally.
so I think that's super important.
Yeah, massive, man. And if we don't have a process to actually get this right, we can run into some issues.
Yeah, look, if you're not effective with goal setting, I think your life can feel somewhat directionless. Your business lacks direction, and the problem with that is every day can seem like the last. Remember that movie Groundhog Day? It's quite a fun movie where who's the guy?
Bill Murray?
Bill Murray, yeah, he's a pretty funny guy. And he wakes up and it's the same day all the time. And I know if you're listening, for some of you in your business, that's what it feels like. It feels like the same different day. And that's super frustrating. And what that does is it leaves you feeling disappointed, exhausted, frustrated, and you lose motivation and energy. And honestly, if that goes on for too long, you can start to feel a little bit bitter and beaten and broken, which is not great.
No, it's not good, man. Not good.
And I think the thing is that you can end up having an average life, really, and not really achieve the things that you could if you had some clearer direction about where you wanted to head.
Yeah, for sure. But on the other hand, if we have a good process to get this right, we have some pretty big upsides.
Yeah, I think you have a clear focus, so you know where you're heading, and you can definitely create new and better results in business and in life and in all areas of life. The cool thing about this goal-setting process is you're going to talk about your tradie, your contracting business today and how it applies there, but it applies to the rest of your life. Your relationships, your health, wealth, well-being, all of that stuff can be influenced by this process. You have more fun, more excitement, and you can be your best self. You can live your best life, which is what it's all about.
Yeah, totally. So where do we start?
Well, I think the first thing is that with anything, if there's a process you can follow, that really helps. And so I think what we'll dig into today is the 4-step process that we've found helpful, which we work with our members on to actually achieve the results they want. And there are 4 steps, and we'll just dig into each one of them as we go through. But the 4 steps are pretty simple. The first is to idealize, which is really to make up, to create your ideal life, as it were, and you do that in your mind. The next step is to visualize. It's to create some visual cues around what that life looks like so you can see it on a daily basis. Then you verbalize that, and that's about creating some affirmations, some statements about how you need to turn up as a person to make that happen. And lastly is materializing, which is about how you make it happen. And so there's a bit of detail in each one of those steps, but really that's the process. You get a clear idea of what you want, then you get it on paper and in a visual form so you can see it, and then you work on creating the change in yourself that you need to make that stuff happen, and then you actually practice it on a daily basis, which is one of the keys to success here.
Yeah, totally. And I think a really big theme that's going to underlie all of this is you really got to think bigger than you probably do at the moment. And I think this is something that we all can fall into a trap of, is that we really overestimate what we can do in a year, but we underestimate what we can do in 3. And I think that when we're going through this process, it's important just to open our mind a little bit more and think a bit bigger and push the boat out, because you can probably achieve stuff that you never even really dream is possible. It seems impossible right now, but if you really aim for it, you can actually then reverse engineer that back into quite a workable plan. All of this is very achievable stuff. So think big when you go through these 4 steps, because it's going to help you to achieve stuff that's really special, and that's actually going to make you have a great life, not just marginally better than it is right now.
Yeah, the key thing here that really helps is most of us, when we goal set, we think about what we want, which is cool. What's the actual goal, but the key to making it happen is all 4 steps of the process, which is you can't just think about it and hope. You've actually got to do stuff, and so priming your mind daily about your goals is really the key to success. And it's basically works on the reticular activating system, which is that it's a technical term, but in practice it's like, well, let's say I bought a new car a couple of years ago. It's an Audi SQ7. I've got 4 kids, so I needed a big car, 7-seater, and I hadn't really seen many of these cars before I bought this car. As soon as I drive this thing off the lot, I see these cars everywhere. It's crazy.
Turns out you bought one that's a dime a dozen.
No,
just kidding, man.
And the wind just came straight out of the sails. Yeah. Like, I'm done. I got nothing else.
It happens to all of us, though, right? Like, it doesn't matter. The minute you start focusing on something, you start seeing it everywhere. It was always there. It's just your mind blocks it out because there's so much stuff around you all the time, just getting bombarded into your periphery and into your mind, that you block most of it out. But the minute you start choosing to focus on something, you start seeing it everywhere. And it's the same with your goals.
Yeah, that's right. And so you start focusing on them, and then you start seeing the opportunities or the circumstances which can help you make them happen. And that's how keeping them in the front of your mind and in front of your consciousness is incredibly powerful.
Yeah, massive.
So that's important. So we'll dig into each one of these areas because there's some real good meaty stuff in here which I think you'll find helpful to create great goals and actually get some massive results this year, which is what this is all about.
Yeah, totally. Well, shall we start with idealizing?
Yep. So idealize is probably the hardest part in some ways, and I think this is the part people struggle with, but there's a few key principles here. I think the first principle is that you've got to set the destination first. So you've got to actually know where you're going, and that's massively powerful. You can't hit a target you don't have. If you don't know, any road will take you anywhere. What we want to be doing is getting really excited about thinking about drawing or architecting out how we want our business and, more importantly, our life to look.
Yeah.
And so that's important. If you think about building a house, we're lucky enough to be building a house. Brom and my wife loves this process, and so you start with an idea and you talk about the concept that you want, and that's the part of the process we're in at the moment. You start talking with architects about how you want this house to look, and that's what you need to do with your business and your life. How do you actually want it to look? How do you want it to feel? That's super important. Creating a powerful and compelling vision is really the first step to doing that, and that's massive. It's like the aircraft. Where are we actually flying to?
I think when we're doing this as well, you really want to get into the details as well. Like, I think sometimes we can focus on just one or two aspects of our life, or maybe just focus on our business and miss some of the other stuff that actually makes a great life. It's kind of like going and building that house and being like, look, no matter what, I want to have a 6-bay shed because I want to have some diggers. Because who doesn't want to have diggers?
A bigger digger.
Right? I need a bigger digger, or otherwise what am I doing with my life?
That's right.
And I focus so hard on this 6-bay shed that I forget to put bathrooms in the actually main house. You know what I mean? So you really have to consider all the different aspects of what you're trying to capture, so that you get a great project overall. And it's the same with your goal setting. It's too easy to set some business goals, kind of profit that you want to hit, or the kind of team you want to have, or the culture or the environment you're trying to create, and you forget some of the other really important stuff, which is your health, your relationships, your fun, your hobbies, your travel. We want a great life, not just a great business. Your business is a vehicle to create all this great stuff in life. And don't get me wrong, like, for me, and I'm sure for you as well, like, business is also one of our main hobbies. But I think the big thing is you've got to have the other stuff as well, or otherwise it's kind of like going and building that house and you've got a few of the features perfect, but you left some others out altogether. What would be the purpose of life if all you had was a great business, but you neglected, the health, the relationships, the fun? And so you really got to get that stuff in there as well with your goal setting. I think it's just super, super critical.
Yeah. I like the idea of creating your ideal life. There's so many parts to us as people. And I know for definitely the early part of my business career, the business was taking the top priority. Every goal I set was about the business. And that definitely came at a detriment to my enjoyment of family and friends and stuff, particularly friends. And so as I get older, I make that more of a priority because it's actually quite important. So what you focus is on what you get. And I think as you go through the process of choosing the goals, the destination, where you want to head, don't just think about how much profit you want to make, but think about, how much vacation time you want to have, what activities you want to do with your kids, the quality of the relationship you have with your spouse, your significant other, what health goals you have, what wealth goals you have as well. So it's like a clock. You go right around the clock to create a balanced life. So that's really important when you're setting the destination.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we need those goals to be really powerful. Like Jim Rohn said, we all need lots of powerful goals to help us through the short-term obstacles. And I think we all know that there are obstacles that come up all the time, and it can be tough. It can weigh you down. But if you've got this really awesome set of goals that you're working towards, something that's, it's really exciting, and you've covered all those aspects. You've built that dream life vision. That can really get you through those tougher times in the short term, because you've got something to focus on. It's like a light at the end of the tunnel that you're working towards. And when you're putting effort into fixing some of the problems in your business or your life, you're doing it for a reason. There's gold on the other side of the hill. So
the destination, if you look at it another way, it's almost like you're choosing the priorities for your life, which is massively powerful. And that's why goals are so good, because they're like a continual priority check. If you look at them daily and regularly, which is what we'll talk about in the later steps, it actually reorientates your compass to the right course without getting knocked over by all the stuff that inevitably comes up every day. So you want to set the destination first, where you're heading, and then you do need to write the stuff down.
Absolutely. Well, should we dig into that?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't write it down, it's not real. And if it's written down, it goes from the invisible world, the world of kind of hopes and dreams, to the world of the visible, which makes it tangible. And then what's really powerful is we can actually be held accountable to our written goals. Not only we hold ourselves accountable, but other people can hold us accountable.
Well, that's massive. I mean, it's way too easy to have a goal in your mind. Hey, I really want to achieve X, but because you never write it down or tell anyone, if you don't quite get there, or you're not making the progress you want to make, you can just pretend you never thought that. And we've all done that, right? Like, hey, I want to lose 10 kilos, and then you start off well for a couple of months. You lose a couple of kilos, or a couple of pounds, or whatever you're measuring. And then, a couple months go by and you start putting some back on, and then, you actually start telling yourself, you know what, actually, I'm pretty happy with my current weight. I think I'm doing pretty good. I look all right for my age. And you start giving yourself these little outs, and you pretend you never really wanted the thing anyway. It was just, whatever. Or you say, hey, I really want that dream home with the 6-bay shed and the 3 diggers. Yes, Maya, if you're listening, 3 diggers is what we're going to get. But anyway, my point is like, you start telling yourself you want that, but, if it's not coming true, you just pretend you never wanted it. Whereas if you've written it down and you've made it a written down thing, or you've told people, then you can be held accountable to it. Like I do this all the time. Like whenever I set a goal for myself, I'll go out and I'll tell people, straight away, way before I'm actually capable of achieving that, because it forces me to do it. Otherwise I look like I am a liar. And I don't want that. People don't want to live outside of integrity. So you get that really strong accountability, literally just by writing.
You are a man of integrity too.
Well, look, I'm actually looking at buying a new place and getting a bit more space and all this. So
with a shed.
And I'm going to put it right here on this podcast. But I've told a bunch of people already. This is happening in March, no matter what.
Look out, buddy.
If we get to March and I haven't done it, then someone please email us and kick my ass about it, because otherwise I'm not going to get the accountability. I might not do it, and I'll pretend I never wanted to, and that's not the point.
That's right. I think something that I perhaps could have mentioned when we were talking about the destination is how important it is to think proactively as well. And if you think about the way that goals work, results do happen in 2 worlds. Like they happen in your brain first, like you got to think about them first, and then they happen in the physical world. And that's like building a house. Like I said, you got to think it. Come up with a concept, then you write some plans, and then you actually build it. Your goals are sort of the same. If you don't set goals, is that you're thinking shit in your head anyway. You're focusing on stuff all the time anyway, and it's by accident. You're thinking about what's not possible. You're thinking about how difficult life is. You're thinking about how frustrated you are, and that almost becomes your goals or your thoughts by default. Yeah. And that's why it's so important to actually put the positive stuff in there, the stuff that really pushes you forward, and it gets rid of that stinking thinking, which I think a lot of us, I definitely struggle with that even today. Sometimes I get caught in that kind of reactive mindset, and I haven't focused on my goals enough to actually help me focus on the destination. I just you tend to recycle that negative stuff, and you create it as well in your life if you're not careful. So I think that's, you've got to really consciously get that mental picture and create that proactive vision as well. That you've got to be a creator rather than a reactor. Yeah. Because if you're a reactor, which, if we're honest, a lot of people are, basically what's happening, other people are recruiting you to build their dreams. Yeah. Rather than you actually building your own dream. And I think that's massively important.
Yeah. And I think like one thing as well, when you get to the writing it down stage, there's something I find quite important. The big thing is that it's actually quite hard to think bigger. And we mentioned earlier, it's really, really important to think big and, push the boat out and aim for something that's really going to be meaningful and make a difference. And I think when you write it down, one thing I try to do is when I write it down, or I'm, going and getting some visuals, some pictures, I'll actually show those to people. And the reason is I ask them a couple of questions. The first one I say is, I'm like, do you think this is realistic? And if they say yes, then I'm like, I didn't do it properly. I should probably think bigger. Because if it's too realistic, it's too achievable, then it's like I maybe haven't thought big enough. Maybe I could do more. Maybe I could do better. The other one is I try to get them to explain back. So if they read what I've written down, or they look at the pictures, I'm like, hey, tell me what you see. Tell me what this looks like in your mind. And just see if I've been clear enough, because again, sometimes you lack a lot of the detail, or you lack thinking bigger, and all of that can actually come from a review from someone else. It's like, what do they see in your words, and have you been articulate enough? Have you pushed the boat out far enough? I think that's really, really important, because if we think bigger, the big thing with this is that it's going to take work, whether you're aiming for marginally better or whether you're aiming for way better. It's still going to take work. You're still going to have to put a lot of effort into that. Like, again, you want to lose 10 pounds, or you want to lose 100 pounds. There's a different amount of work, but it's still work, right? And so you might as well work at something that's going to make a big difference.
It takes no more effort to think bigger. It might take a bit of effort to actually
do it.
Yeah, but it takes no effort to think bigger.
That's it. And so I think the key with this is like, you might as well think bigger. It's not going to cost you anything. And again, like, it just maybe takes a little bit longer to achieve the goal, but if that's more meaningful to you, then work on that, and start making progress towards that. So big challenge I'd have to anyone listening at the moment is just really upgrade your expectations for your business and your life. Like, it's okay to want things to be awesome. They don't just have to be okay. You can really push the boat to awesome. And I think, energy flows where focus goes. So if you've set that bar a bit higher and you're focused on that, your energy will go towards it, and you'll actually find that this stuff is quite achievable, and if you're thinking small, you'll get small results. If you're thinking big, you get big results. The key is that people that achieve a lot, they just think bigger. That's really such an important thing, and it really is that simple.
Yeah, this is a massive hot button for me because you cannot outperform the level of your thinking. It is impossible to perform better than you think. And this is, if I'm honest, one of my biggest frustrations with the work we do with contracting business owners, tradie business owners, is that with respect and all the love in the world, we tend to limit what we believe is possible. In fact, we limit it massively. We might be making $130,000 in profit, and we're like, man, it'd be fantastic if I could make $160,000. And that's honestly,
you could do that by accident, man.
Yeah, you could do that by accident. But if someone gave you permission to make $500,000, you'd be like, oh. Or let alone permission to make $1 million. That's just like, that's beyond the realms of what a lot of people believe is possible. And the reason that is because they don't believe it's possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have members in our coaching programs, in our high level programs particularly, who do make $1 million in profit, and some more than that.
Yeah, well, some more than double that.
Yeah, and so it is definitely possible. So with love and concern for you this year, how about upsizing your thinking? Like set a big, huge goal, like you said, and it might be a profit goal. It might be, hey, I actually want to take 2 months vacation. Actually, I want to have this business put under management and have a general manager running this business. Actually, I want a $10 million business. Actually, I want to sell this business and, for a multiple and make millions of dollars on exit. It might be, hey, I want to, whatever it is, I want an amazing relationship with my wife, and it's been a struggle recently. Reset the expectation, because you'll create this space in your life where possibility is there, and that's hugely important. If you limit it, you limit the results. And so I know it is actually, we say it's the same amount of effort to think bigger, and it is, but it's sometimes just someone giving you the permission to be able to do that.
You just have to let yourself do it.
You have to let yourself do it. And sometimes we don't do it because we're scared of failing. And who cares if you fail? Here's the thing about goal setting, and this is very, very important with goal setting, and this takes a lot of the fear and the frustration away. Goals are not about necessarily achieving them. For me, they're about helping you get progress. They're about moving you from where you are, and they're about the person you have to become to achieve them, because you can't get what you want, which is further than you've been without developing and growing as a person. The goals are actually just a process. They're not an end in themselves. Yes, there's some satisfaction of achieving your goal, 100%. And hats off to you, pat on the back when you do hit your goals. But if you don't, it's not like you've failed. If you've made progress, that's success. That's the whole point. And so I think that's massively important. So that's why you got to think bigger.
Yeah, well, I had a member I was speaking to the other day, and he'd set a goal at the start of last year that he wanted to be able to get to a point where he could take 5 months off per year in his business, which was pretty big goal. And I spoke to him just recently. We're sort of doing a bit of a wrap up at the end of the year, and he's I'm like, how are you going towards that? And he's like, oh, I haven't done it, man. I haven't done it. And I'm like, where'd you get to? He's like, well, every school break I had off. So, every time the kids were off school, I was off school as well, or I was off work and hanging out with them. We did some cool stuff. I was like, oh yeah, what else? He's like, well, we've been overseas twice for a week in the year as a family. I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm like, what else? And he's like, well, every time there's a long weekend or a public holiday or a statutory holiday or anything, I had that off plus a couple of days, and we made a trip out of it. And I'm like, okay, like, are you happy with this? He's like, oh yeah, I'm stoked. This is bloody amazing. Like I've had heaps of time off, and I've basically had all the time off I possibly wanted. And so I think the thing is by setting that big target of I want to be able to take up to 5 months off per year, he's actually achieved everything he wanted to achieve in terms of time off along that journey. And so did he hit 5 months exactly? No, but does it matter? Also no. It's about getting that progress towards where he wants to be, and he's done a great job of that. So I think you need to think big, because if he'd said, I want to have 2 weeks off this year, well then he probably would have done that, and that'd be it. So I think bigger and push the boat out. It's really, really
massive.
important.
And when we're thinking about idealizing, smart goals are important. You've got to take the ideas that you have and put them on paper, write them down as goals, and turn them into smart goals, which most people have probably heard about, but I think it's really helpful. Old wisdom is often good wisdom. So SMART goals just stand for specific.
Mike Tyson descendant.
Yes, yeah, we're having some issues. Apologies, Mike. Yeah, it's hard to get punched in the face and no one has a plan, isn't it?
Or everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Great line.
It is. Yeah. Business and life's a bit like that, right? That's why you need a good a good plan, a good goal.
That's right.
To, when you get punched in the face, you can come back to it.
Well, be specific before you get punched in the face.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. And so we could talk about what each one of those things mean, but maybe it's better just to give some examples because that's what really counts here. An example of a goal might be, I want to make more profit, but it's not really a goal. That's just like a wish.
Yeah, it means nothing. You can't quantify it.
How do you know what it is?
Yeah, I mean, and by when?
Yeah. So a SMART goal would be, hey, I want to make $500,000 in net profit by June 2025.
Yep.
That's a specific, measurable, relevant, timely goal. You know whether you've hit it.
Yeah.
Or you're building a new house. I want to have a new house built that's got 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, outdoor area with a pool and a spa.
6-bay shed.
6-bay shed.
3 diggers.
And we're going to move in by December 2027, let's say.
Yeah.
That's a specific, measurable goal. So that's how you put it together. And obviously, when you're talking about numbers and the hard business data and wealth and even some physical stuff like weight or time, if you're running, you can set times for running, or weights, you can set weights for lifting, and your actual weight, you can measure that stuff by dates. That's pretty easy. But there's a bunch of other stuff which is actually very important. It's like the softer relationship stuff, and it's difficult to put a number on your relationship with your spouse or significant other.
Well, difficult but not impossible.
No.
Because we start measuring other things. So
That's
rather
right.
than, you can't measure the quality of the relationship, but you can measure the behaviors you're putting in place, to water the grass, if that makes sense. Everyone always says the grass is only greener elsewhere if you're not watering it at home. So what you can do is that you can water that grass at home and measure that. So again, rather than I want to have a better relationship, you could say we're going to take 2 walks together per week and have a date night once a month. Like something like that. Or we're going to, I know you and Bronwyn have a relationship like meeting, right?
Marriage meeting.
A marriage meeting.
Yep.
Where you sort of talk about what's going well and what could be better. But the thing is, like, committing to that, that time to actually discuss how things are going. That's a behavior you can measure. It's something you can hold yourself accountable to. It has a timeline. It's like this happens every week, So,
or with your kids, for example, it might be, hey, I have a daddy date with my daughter once a month or once every fortnight or whatever it is. So you can turn things that are not numbers into activities. And when you turn them into activities, you can measure them whether they're done yes or no, which is pretty cool.
And generally, inputs in means inputs out. So, like, if you're focused, if you can't quantify the input out, well, then start quantifying the inputs in, and that's usually going to help you get there. So, look, we've covered idealize, we've covered visualize. So
we've sort of covered visualize.
I mean,
I might dig into that a little bit more.
Should we go a little bit more on that?
Is,
and then we
is
can
that
get to
okay?
verbalize? Yeah.
Is that okay?
You hit it, mate.
Okay. So idealize is getting the idea and getting some goals written down. Now, visualize is taking those goals and putting them into pictures. And I find this very powerful because the subconscious works on pictures and images. And so if you have a goal, for example, building a new house, you can get some pictures of the house that you want and put it on on a vision board or in a vision book and actually look at that with the goals written down underneath it. It's very powerful.
Yeah.
Or have pictures of you and your spouse or significant other doing something fun around those goals. I find that just unlocks the subconscious part of your personality and stuff, and really helps that stuff happen. And I can remember, actually, we're building a beach house at the moment. We built our house that we live in, and I had some goals with that, a vision book, and we moved in pretty much the December. Well, it was the December 2017. We moved in. And the house looks remarkably like the pictures that I had.
It's uncanny.
So similar.
And when I first met you, I
was
found your old
ridiculous, right?
vision book, and I think you'd sort of just moved into the place. And I found your old vision book. I was like, when did you write this? About 3 years ago or something. And I was like, how did you have pictures of your actual house like 3 years ago? You're like, I haven't even looked at it for the last month or two. But it's funny how what you'd put down then and focused on then and visualized then for all these years. That's exactly what ended up coming out, and it's uncanny. Like, literally,
Crazy.
If you saw these photos, you'd be like, and then photos of Tony's house, you'd be like, wow.
If you want to go on a vacation, or you want to go on a hunting trip, for example, get some photos of the place you want to go and hunt.
Yeah.
And the guns you're going to use and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, the stag you want to bring home.
Yeah, that's right. And when you look at it, it changes your emotional state. It actually gets you excited about it. That's what it does.
Well, it makes it more real because instead of your mind's eye being, really when we focus on stuff in our mind, it's often quite a hazy picture, there's no detail. It's actually quite hard to experience that as if it's going to happen. Whereas when you start putting that detail in and then actually getting pictures out, which represent what you're trying to achieve, it really helps you to visualize being in that situation or having achieved that stuff, or being in those places or looking that way. If you have pictures of it, then what you're able to do is you're able to really put yourself into that state, and that makes it so much more real in your mind and feel so much more achievable, because you can now not just visualize it, you can visualize yourself in that situation, and that's really where it becomes more motivating and a lot easier to get past the mental barrier of, can I even do that? It's like, yeah, I can totally picture it.
You connect with it, which is powerful. And so you put pictures and vision around all of those things, those key goals that you have, and that will that supercharges the whole process.
Yeah, massive. Should we talk about verbalize?
Verbalize. Well, the thing about goals is typically you don't have them yet because you haven't done what's required to get them. And that's the purpose of the goal, is to help you get something you haven't got already. And you have to become a different person. And that requires doing different things, as I said, but actually being a different person as well. There's some attitudinal value shifts that happen to achieve your goals, and a lot of them are about getting through fear barriers or uncertainty or anxiety or not knowing or feeling like you're going to fail. All those sort of things come into it. And so what we do is we create some affirmations that we can use to help program our brain on a daily basis, so we do the activity that's required to get the goal that we want. And so it's about writing down maybe 10 or 15 affirmations that you can say when you get up in the morning to actually get your mind and your emotional state in the right place to actually do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And so some examples might be things like, hey, I choose to banish fear. I choose to be abundant. I choose to recognize the opportunities around me. I choose to be present. I believe that I have unlimited potential. I choose to make my life an adventure. I choose to laugh today. I choose to enjoy the journey. It could be a bunch of stuff. There's different things you can use.
And you can get more or less specific with these, but I think the key with this is the word verbalize means actually verbalize it.
Saying it.
Verbalize doesn't mean think it in my head. It means say it out loud. And this is actually quite an important thing. It makes it a lot more real to you, and you start believing it a lot more. Like, there's been studies and studies on this. I'm not going to get into them, but basically this does work. Just believe that. But the key with this is say it out loud. Now, some people say to me, but Phil, I'm a bit embarrassed. What if someone hears me saying this? I'm like, firstly, good, because you get some accountability. Secondly, like, anyone who you really care about their opinion is not going to laugh at you for this stuff. They want this stuff for you. So they'll probably back you on it. They might ask, hey, what are you doing? And then you tell them and they go, oh, that's cool. And lastly, why would you be embarrassed about something you truly want to be true about yourself? Like, if you say, I choose to make my life an adventure, like, don't be embarrassed about that. If you're embarrassed about people hearing you say it, then you're not going to do it. Like, it's really that simple. I mean, if this is something you're going to live and be, then people are going to see you doing it anyway. So saying it out loud is not embarrassing. Like, I think the key with this is you really do have to say it. Like, you stand in the mirror, look at yourself, and say it with conviction. And, eventually, not only do you believe it, but it actually becomes true.
One of my favorites is, I'm confident and funny and always make people laugh.
Yeah, well, you're working on that. So anyway, like...
See, it works.
Yeah, it works. You made me laugh just now. But the point is, like, really verbalize it. And hey, look, if people hear you, then good. That's actually really good. It'll help you get this done. Like I say, I go out of my way to go and verbalize my goals to people far before I'm actually realistically going to achieve them, so that I make it more likely that I realistically achieve them. It works like magic.
Here's an affirmation that you might all want to use. I choose learning and action over fear and procrastination. Try that on every morning.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's juicy.
That puts a fire up your butt.
I love that. Well, yeah, verbalize it, guys. Speak out loud. And last one, materialize. This is super important.
Yes.
There's a great movie, called The Secret. Also a great book, I hate The Secret, all right? And I'll tell you why I hate The Secret is because The Secret misses...
half the story.
It's half the story. Like, it goes on and on and on about if you just believe something hard enough, it'll come true. That's not it. That's not it. That is a massive, key, important part of the process, but you actually have to take action on those thoughts. You can't just think it. The Secret basically says, if I believe hard enough that I'll have a Porsche, that someone will walk up in the street and just give me the keys to their Porsche, And if it doesn't happen, it's because I didn't believe it hard enough. That's bullshit, man. If I believe I'm going to have a Porsche and then take action on the things I need to do and the person I need to become to have that car, then 100% it'll happen. And believing it first is crucial because it makes me take action. But you do have to take the action, and that's what we're talking about with Materialize.
Yeah, the key to materializing is to review daily. Review your goals daily. Put them in a prominent place. And that's, if we circle back to the aircraft, the course correction, this is how it works. And so every morning you look at your goals. Maybe they're on, you've got your affirmations on your mirror or wherever it is, and you check these out because they'll reset your compass, your subconscious, your conscious mind, your action every day. It'll help you take the action you need to. So classic example for me is when I go through my vision book and I see the goals I have around relationships with Brahman and my wife, I see the goals we have around, connecting and date nights and stuff. And if I haven't done something for a few days or I'm a bit behind with it, I'm like, I've got to do that. Yeah. It's as simple as that. That's what it does. It just retunes you to the priorities of your life. It refocuses you, because otherwise, if you don't do that, the day-to-day trivia just pushes in, gets in there, it spreads like a rash and just takes everything over. Before you know it, a month's gone, 6 months or a year's gone, and you're no further ahead. And so that's why the Materialize is so important. Review it daily. Make it a priority to review it. It'll tell you the priorities of your life. It'll correct your life back to the course that you're aiming for, and you'll make the progress that you want to.
Because you'll actually take the action.
You'll take the action that you need to on a daily basis. And if you do it on a daily basis, often it's not that hard, because success is not one big action. It's multiple actions over a long period of time adding up to the destination that you're aiming for.
What's the saying is, we are what we repeatedly do, and therefore success is not an act but a habit.
Yeah.
I can't remember who said it. Someone will probably tag me in this and be like, oh, well, so and so. But anyway, point is, that's just bang on, right? It's that repeated action daily which actually makes the difference in the long run. And I think the key with this is, don't get discouraged if you don't hit your goals straight away. Again, it's not an act. It's not a one-off thing. It's repetition of behaviors. It's progress towards things being better. And eventually, you'll be like the dog chasing the car. Eventually, you'll catch it, and then you'll set new goals. So, like, this process is never ending. So don't be discouraged if you don't achieve all your goals tomorrow. It's about making progress and getting that bit better all the time. It's really the key to the whole thing.
It is 100%.
All right, well, shall we land this plane?
Let's do it. The key to setting and achieving exciting goals is to understand that goal setting is a 4-step process, and it's not a one-off set and forget activity. Like anything worthwhile, it does take effort, but the juice is definitely worth the squeeze. Thanks heaps for listening. We'll catch you all again next time.
See you later.
Congratulations on being part of a select group of savvy business owners who are taking their businesses to the next level. And to help you on your journey, don't forget to check out our show notes for a copy of our free book, The Profitable Tradie, and other valuable resources. Thanks for being a part of this special group, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Profitable Tradie podcast.